Hi everybody and welcome back to the F1 Couple podcast. I'm Charlotte.
And I'm Oscar.
And today we're talking about everything that happened at the Styrian Grand Prix. So, first place to start, who's our winners for the weekend?
Well, I think, as we always seem to be doing, most times rather than not, we're going to start with the winner for the race, but I think this one's the kind of undisputed this time.
Yeah,
Of course we're talking about Max Verstappen.
I don't think anyone is going to disagree with you.
Yeah, it was just dominant from start to finish, really. I mean, throughout the whole weekend, he just looked like he was absolutely on top of it and had the quickest car and was the quickest driver and didn't ever look like relenting that, really. Obviously, he took pole by 2/10 again, and then 35-second win over Hamilton. Yes, obviously Hamilton took a pit stop at the end so he could set fastest lap, but still, even then, it was before that he was still like 10 seconds ahead and looked completely in control. And yeah, just pure Verstappen dominance at the moment.
Okay, here's a question: are you bored of Verstappen dominating it?
I wouldn't say I'm bored of it. I think it's a comparison quite a lot of people have made, comparing, saying, because before, obviously, since 2014, it's been pretty much completely Mercedes dominance. And now we've had 4 races of pretty strong Verstappen dominance, and everyone's like, "Oh, tired of this now," sort of tongue in cheek. I don't think I'm bored of it yet. I think it's still close. It's the championship still, he's opened up a little bit of the league, but it's still not. It's not like it's over a race or 2 race wins yet. So there's still time for everything to change. And I have, well, maybe some doubts, but I have some confidence still in Mercedes that they're going to be able to bring a faster car at some point later in the season, and it will close up again.
Yeah, I don't know. I do think it's definitely about time that I feel like he's had a bit of a rough ride. Like, he should have been achieving more than he was over the last few years, and I think I'm pleased for him that he's finally there. And also, there's a little tiny bit of me that enjoys when Mercedes don't do that well, just because it's like, oh, something different's happening. And
Yeah.
as I know, as a Brit, I'm supposed to love Lewis, and I'm not saying that I don't. But it's just, it's just a little bit more exciting, isn't it, when someone else is challenging him? Although he was just sort of sat there the whole time,
Yeah, I think his dominance in this race led to it being not particularly interesting.
Yeah.
To be honest, I mean, maybe we've been a bit spoiled before with some of the races this season, in terms of having wheel-to-wheel battles for the lead, something we haven't really seen hardly at all in the last several years. So yeah, I mean that's great, and yeah, this race sort of lacked that, but just sort of need to clap your hands for Verstappen, really, how well he did, and the fact that he was able to dominate this strongly.
Yeah, I think we should move on to the only other winner that we have for this week, and that's Sainz. And I think he did a really good job of just sort of minding his own business and just gently creeping up the grid, and then you almost didn't notice that he was doing it. And somehow, well, not somehow, I mean, he did it in a very controlled manner, and it was deserved that he went from 12th to 6th. And I think that's great, and he's definitely got to be in this winners section this week.
Yeah, 100%.
I do think I found it interesting that everybody noticed Leclerc doing the same thing, essentially. And I don't know about you, but I almost wonder, I don't know how I feel about the Leclerc driver of the day thing, when I actually think that Sainz probably maybe did a better job. Maybe not as far as better job, but did a similar job.
Yeah,
perhaps.
I think the thing with the drive of the day for Leclerc was it felt more like he was the one who brought the most excitement to the race, because he obviously had that contact with Gasly and had to pit, so it was right at the back on lap 1. And then it was him who was basically the only driver really doing multiple overtakes throughout the race. I mean, I can't think of that many other overtakes, to be honest. But Sainz, he just sort of did this in vogue strategy from the last few races where you run long on the first stint, and then pit later and overcut loads of people. And we saw the Aston Martins do that great in the last few races, and now Sainz has pulled that trick as well. And it took him from starting 12th to then finishing 6th, which was very impressive, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Doing exactly what Ferrari need of him.
Yeah.
Being there, and I think he's pretty much there with Leclerc on pace. I think Leclerc just has that slight edge on when he's on his day. He's really on it, and just has that bit over him. But
on other days, he just decides he's going to crash into the barrier.
Yeah. But I think, I think when he's, I think Sainz just. I mean, we've seen it when he was at McLaren. He just has that absolute brutal consistency about him that he's just always going to perform every weekend. Yeah. But then Leclerc just has that star quality to him that when it's his weekend, we've seen that when he's going to get those 2 pole positions in a Ferrari car that shouldn't be doing anything like that.
Yeah.
But I think Ferrari, they have a great pairing there. And I just really hope that next year when the new regulations kick in, that they're going to have a strong car and they're going to be back at the front and hopefully fighting with Mercedes, Red Bull, and hopefully some other teams, McLaren up there, Williams back up there, Haas. They're not doing any development this year. Maybe that's just because their next year's car is going to be so good. Maybe not.
I don't have any words.
Yeah. Talking of Haas, shall we use that as a little bit
of
a
losers category
slide into the losers? They're not actually in the losers category, but as sort of regular losers, I guess.
Oh.
But yeah, I think having said that, we'll move on to those losers. I think, sadly, for him at least, the obvious place to start is, again, Esteban Ocon. For the second week in a row that he's been featuring here in our losers list, and sort of emphatically so, he's the obvious candidate, I think. And it's been his 3rd terrible weekend in a row after, in Baku, he didn't complete 1 lap as well, and then 2 rubbish races, first in France and now his first one in Austria. And yeah, just at the beginning of the season, we were really singing his praises. He was clearly
I wasn't.
Yeah. Well, you weren't right at the beginning, but then you were like, yeah, he's really come on. And yeah, he was really beating Alonso and seemingly doing things with the Alpine car that it shouldn't be doing and qualifying in places way above where it should. But I don't know. I really don't know what's happened. But it's completely flipped now. Alonso clearly has got used to his car and is a little bit more settled in it now and is doing more what you would expect from Fernando Alonso. But Ocon just has seemingly dropped so far back. I mean, his qualifying was properly bad out in Q1, P17, behind both Williams cars. And then he didn't really do that much in the race, only up to P14. And yeah, he's now like fairly significantly behind Alonso in the standings.
A whole 7 points.
A whole 7 points, but it doesn't sound a lot, but it is a lot when you're a team who's trying to get 9th, 10th place in the race.
Yeah, I know. I was kidding.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, I'm so annoyed that he's not doing well. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a massive fan of him, but I certainly don't dislike him. I want to see him do well. And yeah, I've just been thoroughly underwhelmed these last 2 weeks.
Speaking of feeling underwhelmed.
Yeah, I think we're going to move on to your sad bit.
I had to text my mum this week during the race and say, George brings the sad. And my heart broke for him a little bit because he had such a good qualifying and he was just so close to Q3 that I was just like, oh, why can't you just get there, and then with the penalty from Tsunoda, we're like, okay, so he is starting in the top 10. That's something, I suppose. And then he's up in 8th, and I was like, oh no, what's going to go wrong here? And kind of, you could just feel that something was going to go wrong, and it happened.
Yeah, super disappointing. He was like, they're right hassling Alonso for 7th place. I was like, oh my god, how is he doing this in this Williams? And then, yeah, as you say, reliability strikes. Clearly it was something he and the team were aware of from the radio communications that he was going to have to come in and change strategy and do like these reliability pit stops. I imagine they were leaving him out as long as they could get that coverage of, well, for the team having their car running inside the top 10 and being the closest battle on track. But yeah, I think it was a pneumatic issue. Like they needed to have air basically pumped back into the car. And you saw that at the pit stops, like the guy between the wheels shoving something in. But yeah, it was just really heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Came in, did it once, and you're like, oh, everyone seemed to think it was a slow pit stop, but I mean, it was clear that there was someone there, an extra mechanic, filling something up. And then yeah, when he came in again, and then he was, right at the back,
In he goes.
and, yeah, then ultimately retiring. Pretty tough, but I think. I mean, it's been Russell. It was Russell brilliance, wasn't it? Qualifying and for those few laps where he was right there at the front, like showing exactly what he is made of and his talent. And I'm just hoping that it's an Austria thing and that the Williams car is going to be good. Like next week, that's the one positive he can take is that he can go again at the same circuit. If they've got the setup right on that car, then they can go and do it again.
Yeah, the one positive that did come out of it was there was a girl on Twitter who offered to bring me some chocolate to comfort me. So
we're still waiting for that.
I'm still waiting for that chocolate, and I have a feeling that it's not going to arrive. But
yeah.
I put the plea out, and someone responded, so I'm okay with that. But yeah, and someone else that broke my heart was Gasly.
Yeah, just to further the woe upon you.
I think it was the other way around. Though,
yeah, it was really the other way around.
That was not a fun thing to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, okay, there's the whole, oh, look, they're pretty boys, like, yeah, alright, whatever. But also, it's frustrating because there's such talented guys that are just getting unlucky, and that's one thing I actually can't stand about F1 is that there's so much luck involved. It's like, you have to make sure that Mazepin doesn't rear end you and and things like that, and it's not always in your control, and I find that infuriating.
Yeah, I think Russell in particular has had some bad luck, but also quite like some high profile mistakes when he's been running in points in the Williams as well.
Was that anything to do with the safety car?
Well, yeah, him crashing behind the safety car in Imola last year, and then smashing into Bottas in Imola again this year.
I think it's just an Imola thing.
Yeah. So clearly something in the water at Imola, I guess, for him. But then, like, I'm thinking when he was in the Mercedes last year in Styria, obviously huge bad luck. And yeah, in this race again, it's the reliability thing this time. And I'm thinking back to in his debut season as well in Germany when there was the crazy race, and that was when Williams got their only point that season, and it was his teammate Kubica who got it. And like, I think that was either like if not the only race, then one of two races that Kubica beat him that year, and that just happened to be the one where it was the only chance Williams had scoring points. And yeah, I just feel like it's gonna come. If it doesn't come, I don't think it really matters, because next year or the year after he's gonna be in either a Mercedes or another car right at the front. So.
Yeah. But I think he wants it to come because I think he's very loyal to Williams, and I think he likes it. And it would be nice for him to get that point because it's just been a long time coming.
Yeah, clearly when it was still being run by Claire Williams and Frank Williams, there was that close one. I imagine it's still the same. All the as far as I know, most of the mechanics and all the guys there in the factory are going to be the same people.
Yeah.
So yeah, he has the loyalty to them still. And yeah, obviously he wants to do well and score points. So all the drivers do. But we've sort of gone back to Russell. We're trying to talk about Gasly.
I don't think it was me that did that. I think that was actually
you. It wasn't me. I was trying to lead into something. I can't remember what that was now.
He went smash.
Yeah, I think bad luck, wasn't it? And Gasly, I think, yeah, he has a little bit of bad luck, but ultimately I was begrudged to put both Russell and Gasly in the losers category given their qualifying performances. Gasly again, another sick thing qualifying, doing things for the AlphaTauri I don't think should be possible. And it's the third race out of the last four where he's qualified sixth and making that position his own. The only other one during those four was fourth. in Azerbaijan as well. So just amazing consistency and ability in qualifying from Pierre.
But I think the thing is that because he did so well in qualifying, that's why he has to be in the losers category, because he had more to lose almost.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Mazepin doesn't end up in the losers category every week. Like, yeah, okay, it wasn't his fault, but he's definitely lost out the most.
Yeah.
So I think it's fitting that he goes.
Yeah, of course. And that's ultimately why he is here, being a loser, because of that contact with Leclerc on lap 1, which ultimately ended his race. It was like you could have had the sort of Benny Hill music playing over the end over it, really, because it just sort of like he bounces off Leclerc, he bounces into Ricciardo, he bounces into Giovinazzi and spins
Latifi
him.
goes round him.
He hits Latifi and gets a puncture. It's just sort of like how it's proper bumper cars. Like, how many people can he hit? Obviously not his fault. I'm not saying it's his fault, because he had that puncture and he was going slow, and it was just he was trying to get out of the way and let people get past. But it was just, yeah, it's kind of funny but also sad.
It was definitely entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the last loser is Ricciardo. He's not having a fun time.
No, it's been such a weird season for him, because obviously, firstly, we like expect him to be doing well, because I have him up there as one of the best drivers on the grid, and he's shown that when he was at Red Bull. And even last year, when he was at Renault, he had some standout races where he was getting podiums. And this year, he just come in and looked so far off the pace of Norris. But then he just has like these odd couple of races, like in Spain, and I'd say even last time out in France, he was sort of back on it. He was ahead of Norris for most of the race, and Norris eventually got past, but then they finished 5th and 6th still, I believe it was. But yeah, just so far off the pace again, and it didn't look like it. I think in practice 2 he was 2nd, and we were like, oh yes, this is Danny Rick back. But then qualifying, you know, he like scraped through to Q2, and then only 13th on the grid. It just, yeah, so far back from where I feel like he should be.
Yeah, definitely. It's not. Something's just odd going on there.
Yeah.
I know that the McLaren is supposed to be a weird one to drive, but I really thought he'd be settled into it by now. I am interested to see what happens over the next few weeks. Maybe he's just having a Vettel season. Or,
Yeah.
I don't know, but he's not happy in that car for sure. So
Yeah, because I feel like all of the others have settled in now. Alonso, obviously, as we were saying earlier, he feels like he's there sort of the last 3 races.
Sainz just arrived and was settled.
Sainz only took him about 3 races, I think. Perez, obviously, in Baku was winning that race, and I think he, like, the last 3 races he's been showing he's that excellent backup driver for Verstappen.
And even like the rookies, you've got Tsunoda and Schumacher, who are looking really settled in their cars now as well.
Yeah.
Or at least more settled.
Yeah, Tsunoda the last couple of weekends has been better qualifying.
Yeah.
Well, in Baku and in this one. Not so much in France, where he crashed on the very first corner of his first lap in quali. That wasn't quite as good. But in Baku and in this race, he's been looking better. But with rookies, you expect them to take at least half a season, really, to be like mostly settled in. Sometimes, you just have to say, okay, first full season is just learning how to drive these new cars. Yeah,
but that's my point. Like, if they're starting to settle and Ricciardo isn't, then there's something really odd going on.
Yeah, and Vettel as well. He got that podium in Baku, and he drove really well in Monaco. I think those are the only ones that swapped. Yeah, he's definitely looking the most unsettled of those who have changed seat, and it's just, so it's hard to watch. But that being said, he was still having a good race after that poor qualifying. He'd made up loads of positions after a great start. And then, when things are going against you, they're really going against you, and he had that sort of engine issue where the power just sort of dropped for a couple of laps, and it just meant that he was at Monaco it would be fine. We've seen that actually from Ricciardo before when he won there, and he had I think half his ERS basically failed, and he's still able to win. But here, where Austria, it's just sort of like a straight and then a straight and then a straight and then sort of a really fast corner and then a straight. It just, yeah, nothing you can do. You can't block people at all. So yeah, ultimately finishing 13th, exactly where he started, but not what he deserved, I don't think, from this race. Yeah, difficult. Hopefully he'll be back at some point, back to his best, but yeah, I'm not confident that it's going to be the next time out in Austria again. I don't know, maybe that'll be a good thing, that consistency, that it'll sort of level the playing field a little bit, maybe, but yeah.
I mean, you don't want to be consistently bad, though, do you?
No, but it's just like the more laps you can put in, you can learn it a bit better, and it just sort of can tighten everything up. But yeah, we'll see.
Shall we move on?
Yeah, time for us to have a little chat about those who we think are still worthy of a mention, even if they don't quite fit into any of the other categories. I think the obvious first choice is going to be Lando Norris. And maybe it's a bit harsh, actually, not putting him in as a winner, because I'm not really sure there's much else he could have done in this race. But it just feels like it's become usual for him to be doing this, just being a comfortable winner of the midfield, and doing great in qualifying. It was third, I think, where he started in qualifying. Yeah, it was after Bottas's penalty.
Sure.
Yeah, just ahead of Perez. And yeah, then converted that to fifth at the end, as I said, ahead of the rest of the midfield, but behind both the Mercedes and the Red Bulls. And yeah, that was pretty much it. Maybe he could have put up a little bit more of a fight against when Perez and Bottas were getting past, but I mean, I completely understand why, because ultimately they would have probably got past at some point anyway. So yeah, maybe I should have put him in the winners here. After talking about it, I don't think there's anything else he could have done. Maybe it's just because this is what's normal now for him.
Yeah,
that he's going to do these drives where he's just going to be the clear winner of the midfield, like well ahead of everyone else.
I wouldn't have put him in the winners. Like I that's the thing. Like it's what I expect of him. I wouldn't have even necessarily mentioned him, to be honest with you. But something that I think is very clear is that Red Bull and Mercedes are so far ahead of everybody else that it's like they can have extra pit stops and come out in the same position, and I'm not happy with it.
Yeah. I just, it's something that hadn't happened that much, I don't think, earlier on this season. Maybe because, we've just had safety cars and things that have closed up those gaps, and some unpredictability, and cars being ahead of where they should have been, and things like Ferrari being much closer in Monaco and Baku and things like that. But yeah, it just seemed like there was such a gap between those two, Mercedes and Red Bull at the front, and the rest. Pretty much, they lapped. Well, yeah, Verstappen lapped the rest of the cars that weren't Red Bulls and Mercedes, which is absolutely crazy. I think to think.
I mean, the track is short, but
yeah, it is a short track, so you are going to probably get more of that. But it's something that I've not seen a while. I'm certainly not lapping that far up the grid.
I'm sure there was a gap about that big when we were in France, wasn't it?
I'm trying to think back. I think they would have lapped into the top 10, I think, but not as high.
No, I'm not saying the lapping, but I'm saying that the gap, the actual time gap.
Oh yeah, probably, but it's just, yeah. I mean, I imagine they would have been in France because again, no safety cars or anything like that. But yeah, it just sucks a little bit. I mean, maybe I'm asking for too much here, given that we're having a pretty good championship fight, and the battle inside the midfield is still pretty spicy. But yeah, it would just be nice if there's, some, like, they were at least close. But yeah, I mean, McLaren, they're not going to try and race hard to stay on the lead lap, are they? When they've got a car and they can just sort of turn the power down and save the engine a bit, for later in the season reliability. But yeah, I was just a little disappointed by that, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything else? I think.
No, I was just having a think. Other than the things we've already mentioned, there's not actually a lot more that I would want to mention. Like, there were extremes, and then I think this is something we're seeing quite a lot, that you have the extremes going on and then not a lot in the middle.
Yeah.
And they're all just sort of tootling along, minding their own business. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, shall we move on?
Yeah. I think it just it was a race. We've had 2 races without craziness. Like the race in Paul Ricard was like good because it was really tense. But this race there was no tension. There was no real drama other than a little bit on lap 1. So yeah, maybe that's why. It's just I think this is probably maybe with Monaco, I don't know, but probably the least exciting race of the year so far. I mean, in an ordinary year, this probably would just be sort of middle of the road at this point in the season. But yeah, probably the lowest for me so far. But I think we're putting a bit of a downer on it. Shall we try and spark a little bit more life out? I think we'll move on.
All right, I'll just don't mind me. I'll leave.
We'll move on to the next one. Next person I think is honourable has an honourable mention for, and that's Kimi Räikkönen. Someone I don't think we've barely spoken about on this podcast.
I don't know. I think we have done a couple of times because I remember going on a bit of a rant about how I wish he'd give up and give someone else a chance.
We definitely did in Baku because we mentioned everyone, didn't we? And I think it was Portimao, wasn't it, where he crashed into the back of Giovinazzi, and when he was like just looking down at his steering wheel,
kind of
I think
for me.
that's when he had a little bit of a dig at him. But yeah, I think he did a good race this time. You again maybe didn't notice him a bit like Sainz because he kind of crept up the field. But he just seemed really comfortable sitting there in that midfield battle. I think you saw the train when it was sort of Alonso, Russell. Can't remember who else was in that. Vettel would have been in there, I think.
Tsunoda, I think, was at one point.
Yeah, Tsunoda as well. And yeah, Räikkönen sitting in there as well. And it was good to see just Tsunoda being able to get up there, Räikkönen being able to get there and run that Alfa Romeo to a definite midfield pace for the whole race. And yeah, so he finished ahead of one of the Aston Martins, one of the McLarens, and one of the Alpines. So that's the definition of being in the middle of the midfield battle. So yeah, I was impressed by that. But ultimately, he's not a winner because he didn't get any points, just outside 11th place. So yeah, that's kind of unfortunate, but it would have been good to see him add to his points tally. But not to be, but still definitely a good race for him, and he impressed me.
Yeah. And then I suppose the only other people that we really need to mention, I suppose, are Mercedes. But first of all, the Bottas pit lane incident.
Yeah.
That was something.
Yeah.
It was just weird, actually.
It was really weird.
And obviously that then meant he had his penalty, which isn't obviously you don't want to go into qualifying knowing you're going to be 3 places down.
Yeah. He was really annoyed about that as well. He was came out afterwards, just oh well, I don't think I really did much that was worth penalising, and McLaren were only complaining because they wanted to get further up the grid in qualifying, and it was well, you kind of did spin in the pit lane right towards where their mechanics were standing. I think that's kind of fair enough that you're going to get a penalty. It's sort of the definition of dangerous driving if you're going to drive out of your pit box too aggressively and then spin the car towards a bunch of mechanics and towards people that are just sitting on the pit wall.
Well, yeah, but he did also say, because I had a meeting and I missed half of FP2. It was FP2, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I turned it back on just as he was saying that he had to go up to the steward's office or whatever it's called. It was steward's office, isn't it? And they were like, oh, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think you're going to get a penalty? He went, oh, no, it'll just be normal, nothing will come of it.
Yeah.
And I was just okay, then.
Yeah, I think that his argument falls down because what are they meant to do, the stewards? Are they meant to only punish you if you actually hit someone? No, obviously not. If you're going to drive dangerously and spin the pit lane like that, you have to get penalised.
Was
to
it
avoid you doing avoid him or anyone else doing the same thing in the future.
was it a mechanical thing? I thought it was like something to do with the tyre not being on right. Or...
No, the tyres were on fine. I think he was just like lighting them up a bit too much, like
Oh, okay.
driving out with too much wheel spin, giving it a bit too much on the accelerator.
Oh, I thought I'd heard that it was something to do with the pit stop. Okay, that's fine. And then, I mean, that started a pretty average weekend for them, and then they're just not on it at the minute.
No,
It's weird. It's not a Mercedes that we've got used to seeing, and I mean, come on, Verstappen should not be able to be that far ahead.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was just, you're exactly right when you said average. It was just, they were, again, just off the pace in qualifying and then had absolutely nothing to fight with in the race. At least in Paul Ricard, they did an alternate strategy, even if it turned out to not be the right one. And I think they sort of fluffed it a bit with obviously they fluffed it a bit with Lewis's pit stop in France as well. But here, just like they were completely powerless. They had nothing to bring the fight with. And that's what was, I guess, a bit shocking, really. We've not, on the street circuits in Monaco, they looked off, and then in Baku, they looked not really on the pace. But like here, they were so far off of Verstappen. It was, something. It was really something to be seen.
I feel like it wasn't even just Max being Max. You know, like the last lap, Perez so nearly got Bottas.
I think one more lap, not even like one more lap, like one more straight, and I think Perez would have been going past. So Bottas kind of, I'm not going to say lucky, well managed to stay holding that podium position.
Having said that, though, I was very, very pleased for Bottas to actually get a podium.
Yeah, a little bit.
He's had a rough few weeks.
Yeah, a little bit of luck finally coming his way in terms of Perez's pit stop was slow, which meant that he jumped him in the pit stops. And then when Perez made a second stop and was closing him down, just the checker flag coming in the nick of time. So finally a little bit of Bottas luck, even if that is only to get third place in a race, which, I mean, ordinarily we'd be expecting of him anyway. Yeah.
I mean, I think ordinarily we'd probably be expecting him to be second, but...
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but
either way,
last season there was quite a lot of Verstappen in second and beating Bottas and things like that. I think what was...
I'm sorry.
A little bit of you on there, am I boring you?
Yeah.
I think what was, again, something about Mercedes was both Lewis and Toto came out afterwards saying, like, sort of talking about how they're not really developing the car at all this year, and Red Bull is still bringing upgrades, which is why they've pulled ahead these last couple of weeks. I'm not sure how much of that is true, whether Mercedes are just playing it down and they're going to bring like a couple of massive upgrades in a few weeks' time and then just be back on it and be the fastest car, or if that's genuine. But then you have to also think, if it is genuine, or have they got an absolute monster of a car coming for 2022? And a Red Bull really putting all their chips on getting Verstappen his world title this year, so that then they're going to be able to keep hold of him, and he's not going to try and go off to Mercedes or Ferrari or McLaren if they're going to have a good car for 2022 and beyond.
Yeah, I hadn't ever considered that Max would leave Red Bull.
Yeah, I mean, it's a team that's built around him, but he's not going to want to be there if it's not a championship-winning car.
No, I get that. I just had never even thought that Max could be in a Mercedes, for instance.
Yeah, well, I think he's Max Verstappen. He could be in any car on the grid.
No, I appreciate that.
He has the pulling power.
He can do whatever he wants, and I understand that. But I just mean that I had never thought for a second that would happen.
Yeah, I think, about Mercedes and everyone's being a bit like, oh yeah, George Russell is going to be the one who's going to, well, probably replace Bottas, but ultimately replace Hamilton. But I think if Mercedes had the opportunity to sign Verstappen to replace Hamilton, they would absolutely jump at that, no questions asked.
I'd love to see Max and George at Mercedes. I think that would be fun.
I think that would be good. I think George would probably not enjoy that too much. It would certainly be interesting for us to see if he's in that top tier bracket with Verstappen or not. I personally don't think it would happen.
I do want to see those two race in the same car.
Yeah.
But it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, well, maybe Verstappen to Williams confirmed, is that?
Hey, who knows? Williams could come out with an absolute monster of a car.
Maybe. They've been playing the real long game. They've been developing since like 2018 on these new regs.
No, they're just gonna pounce, and people won't be expecting it. So
yeah. That really would be a turn up. On that note, should we begin to wrap up this race wrap-off? And
I think it's best. I have just suggested that Williams maybe...
Yeah. So, yeah, obviously, our next race up, we're staying in Austria for it. The actual Austrian Grand Prix this time, as opposed to the Styrian one. Bit weird, I think, this year having it in the opposite order. But obviously for promotional purposes in terms of keeping the Austrian Grand Prix on the actual weekend when it was planned to be, and having the fans there for that. Yeah, I'm hoping it'll be a little bit more exciting. You know, we were promised some rain this weekend that never materialised, so
this happens every week. I get excited about the rain and then the rain never comes.
Yeah, hopefully we'll keep our fingers crossed, although I'm sure it'll be like, we'll look at the the charts for it, the couple of days before, and it'll be like, oh, there's going to be rain, and it comes to race day, and it's like, oh, a bright blue sky, not a cloud in sight. But yeah, we can hope. It would spice it up, but hopefully there'll be something to spice it up a little bit more this time. Like last year, I was pretty happy with a double header in Austria because there were two pretty scintillating races, really.
Are you sure that wasn't just you were like, yes, cars are back?
F1's been away from so long, I would take absolutely anything. Just no overtakes around Monaco, please. That would still be enough. No, but yeah, they were really good last year, and this one's obviously disappointed a bit. But I think Austria it just seems to throw up some good races in general, but this Styrian Grand Prix wasn't one of them. So fingers crossed it's because all of the good stuff's going to be in this coming weekend's race.
We shall see.
Yeah, we shall see. So, yeah, as always, we're the F1 Couple. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram. We're at the F1 Couple. Let us know who you think the winners and losers were from this race, and maybe who you think the winners and losers will be in the next race in Austria 2.0. So yeah, thumbs up on the video, or follow or subscribe, or whatever it is on whatever platform you're listening or watching. And until the next race after Austria, 3 weeks in a row this will have been. I've been Oscar, and you've been Lots, and we'll see you later.
I was so confused. I was like, but I'm always me.